Hello and welcome to this video podcast. My name is Terry Riddoch, a broker with RE/MAX Twin City. My goal today is to provide a brief outline of some of the ways I go about selling houses. We'll look at pricing, sales techniques, and then finally touch on customer service. Now before we begin, I think it's important to recognize that real estate is as much a matter of personality as it is of business. Being sure that you'll be able to work well with your realtor and trust their advice is just as important as how well they say they're going to price and market your house. So I'd like to spend a few moments just talking about myself. I hold a full real estate broker's license, which allows me to practice real estate throughout the province of Ontario. My practice has consisted primarily of residential, investment, and recreational properties, specifically Muskoka cottages. My awards include Top New Agent my first year, highest year-over-year increase in my brokerage. As well, I'm a member of the RE/MAX 100% Club. I've handled properties from well under 100,000 to well over $1 million and everything in between. So I have the experience to know that each property I list is unique and different properties require different solutions and approaches for a successful sale. So let's begin and talk about pricing. When giving pricing advice to my clients, I approach the problem in one of three different ways. First, there's the income approach, and I use this primarily if we're looking at an income generating property, such as an apartment building, for example. It asks the question, what is the present value of all future earnings? Or in other words, what am I willing to pay today for all the money that I'll get tomorrow? Next, we have the cost approach, and if we're dealing with a brand new building, this is a great approach. It asks the question, what would it cost to entirely replace this property or rebuild it completely? Now, it's a great method for properties that are a year or two old, but it does begin to break down as we go back in time. Changes in materials, building standards, and practices really make adjustments quite complex. Finally, we have something called the direct comparison approach, and this is the one that you're no doubt most familiar with. It relies on the following logic. If a house similar to yours in your neighborhood sold for a given price, you should get that price too. Now, because it's the most common one used in the residential market, let's spend a little more time looking at it in some detail. While simple in principle, the direct comparison approach is actually quite complex in practice. And the reason for this is that no two properties are identical. So you need to make adjustments to ensure that you are comparing apples to apples. Now, to keep things clear, I break the comparisons down and adjustments down into four groups. The first, time. Are we comparing properties that sold within days of each other or months? What about location? Are we comparing properties that are neighboring or ones that are blocks apart? What about the physical characteristics? Was this one better maintained, this one less so? Are the bedroom sizes slightly larger in this one and slightly smaller in these one? All these things need to be taken into account. Then finally, there's also what I'll call the intangibles. And these are a little bit more difficult to put your finger on. They'd be things like, this house sold for more because it went to multiple offers. This house sold for less because they needed to be out by the end of the month. Now, once you've made all the adjustments and come up with your base price, there are two last steps that I take. The first has to do with looking at your personal goals and personal situations. Do you need to move quickly or do you have the luxury of time? Then we also look at what's going on in the market. Are any of the other properties that are currently for sale signaling us to make small adjustments either up or down? So, having used either the income, the cost, or the direct comparison approach, we come up with a base price that we then make minor adjustments to and end up with our asking price. Now that we've talked about how I determine the price of your house, I'd like to tell you a little bit about how I actually go about selling them. Now, because each listing is unique, it will require some combination of both traditional as well as new web-based methods. So let's look at each of these in turn. To begin with, the traditional methods are probably those methods that immediately come to your mind when you think of selling real estate. Agent open houses, public open houses, print media, as well as home staging. Now, of these, agent open houses are probably the most important. Over 90% of real estate in Ontario is sold by realtors, so it's critical that we have our property presented to that segment of the market. Further, there are also public open houses. Now, to my mind, public open houses achieve two goals. First, they're yet another opportunity to present our property to the market. But secondly, they're a great source of information. Each buyer walking through the front door is a window into the market's reaction to both our price as well as our features. And we can then take this information and tailor our marketing strategy as we go through the sales process. Next, there's print media. Now, mostly eclipsed by the internet today, print media is still important for higher priced listings that will appeal to an older demographic, as well as it's a great tool for getting potential buyers through the front door of open houses. Finally, there's home staging. Home staging is incredibly important in my opinion. So much so that I actually provide each of my listings with an hour's consultation with a certified home stager. Having a great presentation will get us great offers, which means more money for both of us. Now, in addition to the traditional based methods, there are also the web-based methods. MLS.ca, corporate sites, private websites, as well as interactive virtual tours, narrated videos. Let's take a few moments to look at each of these in turn. MLS, far and away the most powerful tool you have at your disposal to sell real estate online. It's the #1 way realtors have of communicating with each other, and it's also far and away the most popular first step when buyers begin looking for houses. Next, we have the corporate sites, in my case remax.ca, again a very powerful tool when selling online. Now, having said that, MLS as well as the corporate sites have two shortcomings as I see them. One, very difficult to separate your listing from all the other ones for sale in a given market. Now, if you've got a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house in a large urban market, you probably know exactly what I mean. Next, because it's both those systems are quite restrictive in the number of photos as well as the amount of text you can put on them, it's a challenge and quite difficult to get all the selling features out in front of the market. So what I do is I provide each of my listings with their own private site. I've got complete control over this site, so I can pack it with as many photos and as much text as I feel I need to adequately showcase all the features of a given listing. Now, in addition to the photos and the text, I also add interactive virtual tours as well as narrated video commercials. Both excellent tools again to help us set ourselves apart from the competition and showcase all the features of a given listing. Now, because most listings do not employ those last two tools, those that do are visited online more often. Buyers will spend more time looking at the site, and they're more likely to refer these sites or these listings to friends they know who may be in the market. So, more hits online mean more visits to your house. More visits to your house is stronger bargaining position, and that's exactly where you need to be when you're negotiating price. When I take on a listing, I actually have two goals in mind. The first, of course, is to sell the house and to sell it as quickly and for as much money as I can. My second goal, however, is a selfish one, and it's to turn you into my greatest salesperson in the market, to make you so happy with the service I provided that you tell all your friends and family. Now, I do this by paying particular attention to your needs and attention to customer service. Basic. I return phone calls promptly. I return emails promptly. If you have a showing, I call you with feedback. What's more is I also provide weekly meetings with you. I tell you about what has gone on in the market locally, new listings, new sales in your immediate neighborhood, account for all the activity on your personal listing, and then also tell you exactly what I have done for the past week to earn your business and sell your house. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this. If you have a house to sell or just have some questions, I'd like to hear from you. I can be reached at 519-591-1725 or by email, terry@therealestatenetwork.ca. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll hope to hear from you soon.